Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. So we are going to be looking at using Pythagoras to find unknown sides. Because we know the relationship between all three sides, it makes it easy for us to find sides that we don't know. And that's because when there's one side that we don't know, there is only one unknown variable. So it means we can use algebra. So first thing I'm going to think about is, what is Pythagoras' theorem? If you remember, Pythagoras' theorem is looking at a triangle where I've got the area of A. This is my length A. But also I've got B squared, because this is the length of B, so B squared equals the length of C squared. So these two added up will equal this area here. And that is what I would like you to take note of. So I'll quickly rub that out so I've got some space to answer these questions. Okay. So I'm going to first write my equation, and I really encourage you to write your equation down. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. If you've got a picture of your triangle, I encourage you to label them. A, B and C is always the hypotenuse side. So that is Y here. Once you've labelled them, I would then encourage you to substitute the values into this equation. So I know A is 8, so 8 squared. I know B is 5, so plus 5 squared. And I know C is Y, Y squared. Now I can slowly solve this. 8 squared is 8 times 8 is 64. Plus 5 squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25, equals Y squared. Next thing I'm going to be thinking about is adding 65 and 25 together. So 65 plus 25 is 90, equals Y squared. Now, what's the opposite of squared? Square root. So to get the squared away from that side, I am going to do the same thing to each side. So to cancel out the squared, I need to square root. If I square root one side, I'm going to square root the other. And it becomes, they cancel out. And it just becomes Y equals the square root of 90. If I use my calculator, the square root of 90 is 9.48. Okay, let's go on to our second question over here. This time we don't know what this side is. So the first thing I'm going to do again is write my equation down. Let me draw a line just so there we go. We know we're working over here. So I've got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. The next thing I'm going to do is really think hard about what my values are. So I'm going to say 4 centimetre is A, P is B, C is always going to be the hypotenuse. The next thing I need to do is substitute my values in for those letters. So I know A is 4, 4 squared. B is P squared. And C is 7 squared. Now I need to simplify. 4 squared is 4 times 4 equals 16. Plus P squared. 7 times 7 for 7 squared is 49. And the last thing we need to do is try and simplify them. So we want to get P by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is looking at this 16. What's the opposite of plus 16? Minus 16. So if I minus 16, this cancels out, and I'm minus 16 on the other side. And it becomes 16 take 16 equals 0. P squared equals 49 take 16. 49 take 16 is 33. So P squared equals 33. Next thing I need to think about is I want to get P by itself. So the opposite of squared is square root. So I square root both sides. That leaves me with P equals the square root of 33. If I know my square roots correctly, it is between 5 and 6. Because the square root of 25 is 5 and the square root of 36 is 6. So the square root of 33 is 5.74. So P is equal to 5.74 centimeters. Well, we're going to do one more. This is a bit more challenging one. So let me rub this off so I've got some extra space. Okay, so I've got a triangle down here, and I'm actually going to draw it bigger, just so you can see at home. 52 millimeters, A, and 7 centimeters. Okay, so the first thing I look at is I need to be using Pythagoras theorem to work out this because it is a right angled triangle. So I'm going to write my equation down. That's the first thing you should always do. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Second thing I'm going to do is label. Let's say that's A, I'll leave that as A. B, remember this here is all, the hypotenuse is always going to be C. Now, before we get started, I can see that this is centimeters and this is millimeters. So we need to make sure we're looking at the same metric system. So I'm going metric unit. So I'm going to change millimeters into centimeters. 52 millimeters into centimeters is divided by 10, and it becomes 5.2 centimeters. Now it's in the same unit. I can then substitute. I don't know A, so I'll leave A as A. B is 5.2 squared, and C is 7 squared. Then I slowly reduce this to make it a bit easier for myself. I need to start simplifying. I don't know A squared, but 5.2 squared is 5.2 times 5.2. Which is 27.04 equals 7 squared is 7 times 7, which is 49. Again, I need to get A squared by itself, so that means I'm going to take 27.04 from both sides. Okay, so if I take 27.04 from 27.04, the answer is just going to be 0. So I can just write A squared equals, I can ignore that. On the other side, if I go 49, take 27.04, it's going to equal 21.96. Now, to get the square root gone from this side and I'm just looking at the A, all I need to do is think about the opposite. The opposite of square root, sorry, the opposite of squaring is square root. The equal sign means whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So I'm going to square root that side as well. So if I look at the square root of 21.96, that leaves A to be 4.686. Make sure I've got my units, centimetres. And there you have it. So we can use Pythagoras theorem to find any unknown side. We just also need to make sure that our metric unit are the same. If they are the same, it makes things easier. If you need any extra help, message me and I'll get back to you.